In this video I'm going to show you how to create classes using Netbeans. The first thing, what is object-oriented programming? Object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm based on the concept of objects. It means everything in object-oriented programming is treated as object, which can contain data in the form of fields, which also known as attributes or properties or characteristics, and the code in the form of procedures, which is known as methods or functions. Second thing, object-oriented programming brings data and its behavior together in a single entity called objects, okay, and restricts direct access to its internal components, which is known as encapsulation. Now you can think of a class as a blueprint or stencil from which individual objects are created. A class specifies the characteristics and behaviors shared by all the members of that class. Now here I have an example. The first thing, let us differentiate between a class and an object. Now let's see here. Now these are some different types of molds that you must know about. Now let's have a look at this one. Now this metal star that you see, by itself it is useless unless I use it on this dough and create a biscuit or a cake or something like that. That is the main thing that we need to use, right? That is an object. This is a class. The stencil that you see here, the mold that you see here is the class, while that is the object that is used. So a class by itself is nothing, or a class by itself can be useless unless you create objects out of it. If you are not creating objects, then there is no use of that class. Like here you can see it, even this one, the stencil that is used for writing ABC. Now by itself I cannot do anything with it, right? It's useless unless I use a pen to write on a paper. That written thing is the object that you have. And then you have more examples like that, you might know about it. Now one other very basic object or very common object that we use is of a car, right? The car is the blueprint that we have. It has the attributes or characteristics like color and brand, while the method inside the car are drive or brake. Now I have object 1 and object 2. I have created two different objects of this class. One of them is called the sports car, the other one is the family car, right? So this way we can create different objects. Now for example, you can see here we have the class here, car, right? And then here we have different cars of different colors. They all have been created by using the same class template. Now what are attributes and characteristics? Attributes are defined in the class which represent the state of an object. For example, all cars have the following characteristics: make, model, color and year. Object has its own individual characteristics. For example, we have here, now this is our class, right? It has some attributes which are make, model, color and year, while here we have different cars. Now here we have a red color car, we have a blue color Mustang, this is Camry, this is some other SUV type of vehicle you have here. Now here you have the make, which is Toyota, here the make is Ford, here the make is Ford also, then model is Camry, model is Mustang, and then model is Explorer. Then you have the color and you have the year also. So these all are different characteristics of these cars, right? So we have a single class out of which we have created three different objects, and all those three objects have different properties or characteristics. Here you have more examples of it. Now we look at the methods. What are methods? Methods are functions that are defined inside the class that define the behavior of an object, what an object can do. The following all cars also have the following behaviors. What are the behaviors or actions? In fact, behaviors or methods are those actions that an object can perform or can do. Now here, for example, this is the class. You have seen the attributes or characteristics. Now we have the behavior, defined behavior, which are methods or functions. Now the car can start, it can stop, and it can run. Now here you have it. You can see here the state. Okay, when we talk about state of a class, that is actually the attributes: model, make, color. All these things are the state. While behavior, the car can start, it can stop, and it can run. So all these three objects can do all these three things. Okay, now whenever you see a class, the best way to define a class or give you the detail about a class is using this class diagrams or notations that we have here. Now this diagram is divided into three parts, right? The first part that you have is the class name. In this case it is car. The second part is actually the attributes or the fields or the characteristics of that class, which are make, model, and year. And the third part gives you the methods, which are start, stop, and drive. Now this minus sign here means that these are private members. Now you can see here it gives you minus is for private, plus is for public, the hash sign is for protected, and the tilde sign is for package, right? For now we would only be looking at the plus and minus. So these variables that you see here, or the class variables that you see here, are all private. The first part is the name of that variable, the second part is the data type, and here you have the minus or plus. In this case it is plus. Start is the name of the method, while void means start does not return anything, and again the start parenthesis open and close, and there is nothing inside it, which means it is empty. It does not pass, you do not pass any value to it also. While here drive, you pass an integer, the name is speed, and then it returns nothing, right? So this way you can completely define a class. Okay, now we will see how to create classes using Java in Netbeans IDE. Now we will start from here, from the new project. We choose Java with Ant and Java application. Here we are going to write the name of the project, not the class that we want to create. So this one can be, you can have any name with this. Okay, we already have class demo 1, so I will create class demo 2, and you click finish. Now it's going to give you the basic structure or template of the main program. Now here you can see we have started with the public class demo. So as you know that the first, or the program that has the main function, the class name must have a public access modifier to it, right? And the name of the file should also be the same as this class name, class demo 2, and the file name is also class demo 2.java, right? So this is the basic structure of our project. We do not have the class that we want to create at the moment, so we just have this basic thing. You can run this one by clicking this play sign. Now you can see here it says build successful. We are not printing anything or doing anything, so that's why there is nothing displayed there. Now we will try to create a class. Now to create a class in Netbeans or in Java, if we simply come here, you can start after the main class, or you can do it before that, or you can create a class in a separate file also, which we would see later. So we start with the keyword class, and let's say we create a class calculate, right? This is our basic class, right? Now we can have the class variables or instance variables, or the properties or the characteristics of this class. Let's say this is calculate, so we need to have two numbers. So I can say, I can call this one as number 1 and this one as number 2. While we can have a result also. Okay, now this is our class and we do not have any methods here. Now I can create the object of this class inside main. You write the name of the class and you write the object name, you have new and then the class name again. Like this you have the object. Now see, when I write c1 dot, it gives me, when I write c1 dot, it gives me the variables that are inside the class. We have number 1, number 2 and result. So you can see here it gives you number 1, number 2 and result. Now all these are visible because they are public or default. It means they are as public, right? Now I make them private. Let's say I make the first one as private. Now I come here, c1 dot. Now you can see number 1 is not visible because that one is private, right? So the basic idea here is that we should make all of them as private. Now you can see when I write here c1 dot, I don't see any variables. It means they are all hidden now. So now to access these variables, I need to create, which are called accessor and mutator methods, right? And usually they are named as getter and setters. So let's start with the first one. Now once we come to this point, I have created the object. Now I want to move numbers to these values, number 1, number 2 and result will be calculated. So how should I do it? Now these methods needs to be public because they should be accessible through the main. I just write this one as set and 1, right? And here I need to write the value that it's going to receive from the main method. Now what is the type? Double, and let's say I call it as n1. Now what am I going to do here? I will say number 1 is equal to n1, right? Now if I write this one as number 1 also, now you can see here this is number 1 and this is also number 1. So how is the compiler going to differentiate between which one is what? Like here I am going to write number 1. Now you can see on both sides it's number 1. So to remove this confusion, I can do something like this. I can write this keyword, this this, this keyword, to show that this is the class variable while this is the local variable for this method, which is number 1, right? So this removes the confusion. But easier one is that I just name this one as something else, right? Like this. So now there is no confusion. Now this was set n1. Now we need set n2, that is number 2, right? Let's say I will make this one as n2. Okay, now here we have set n1 and n2. So now I can come here and say c1 dot. Now if you look, it gives me the method set n1 and n2. So I choose n1 and let's say here I put 45. Then I say c1 dot set n2 and here let's say I put it 55. Okay, now what? Our class is still incomplete because now nothing is happening. I don't have the result. It means I need to have one more method here. We call this one as, let's say we call this one as result, right? And it will return double because it will do the calculation and return, right? Get result. Now here we can say result is equal to number 1 plus number 2, and then here I say return result, right? So now we have all the three things there. We can set the numbers and we can get the result also. Now how to check what is the result? Now there are different methods to do this. Let's say for example I can say double r is equal to c1 dot get result, right? And then I can say result is equal to r, right? I can do something like this. Let's see. Now you can see here it says result is equal to 100, right? So we can do this also, or we can do one more thing. Here I can say c1 dot get result directly, right? And you would see both of them will display the same thing. You can see here both of them are displaying this. So you can do it both way. You can create a separate variable and then call the result method, or you can directly display it here, because this is returning a number, right? So this area, this complete area would be replaced by that number that this function or this method returns, right? So this is our basic class structure that you can create. So you have a class name, you have characteristics, class variables also, then you have different methods. You can create the object here like this, and then you can call different methods this way. Okay, the next topic is the constructors. Now you see here, to move these values or to assign these numbers to these variables, the class variables number 1 and number 2, we had to call set n1 and set n2 methods. Now we can do without these methods, without calling these methods. We need to have a constructor. So what is a constructor? Now in object oriented programming, a constructor is a special type of method that is automatically called. Means you do not need to call a constructor when you are creating an object. This constructor is called automatically when an object is created from a class. Now the key purpose or characteristics: first thing, we need a constructor to initialize values. The primary purpose of a constructor is to initialize the state of a new object. Means the properties, the fields that you have are usually known as state of the new object. It ensures that the object starts its existence with defined values for its attributes. So when you are doing programming, you should be very sure of everything, that okay, this variable should have this value or this variable should have this value. Name matching: a constructor must have exactly the same name as the name of the class it belongs to. Second thing, it does not have any return type, even void. You do not need to write void before the constructor name. Unlike regular methods, constructors do not have return type, not even void. Automatic invocation: now this is the main idea, that we do not need to call a constructor, it is called automatically. You do not call a constructor like normal method. It is triggered by the new keyword during object instantiation. Example, calculator, mycalc, new calculator, like for example what we did here. Now here the constructor is called that, but we don't have a constructor, right? So Java provides a constructor for this class automatically, which is not visible here. Okay, but now we are going to create a constructor here. Now let's say, first thing, the constructor name should be the same as the class name, and the access modifier should be public. Sorry. Now this is our constructor. Here we need to initialize variables. So let's say now I call it like this: number 1 is equal to number 2 is equal to 7. So number 1 and number 2 are 7 in this case. So I have just initialized these ones with this value. So let's see how this works. Okay, we will leave this part as it is. Now we will create an object. Okay, now I said calculate because this constructor doesn't have any values. It's not receiving any values from the main, and we have not defined any integer or double like the way we defined it here, right? So this is our default constructor for now. Now I have already initialized number 1 and number 2 with 7. So it means I can directly call result and see what is the answer to that, right? So I can do something like this. Okay, so we are directly calling the result. We did not call the set n1 and set n2. We did this initialization inside the constructor. Number 1 is equal to number 2, which is equal to 7. So let's see. You can see here it shows result as 14. Right? So this is what the constructor does. Now when we created the object at that very moment, this constructor was called, this one, and the values were initialized with number 1 is equal to number 2 and which is equal to 7. Usually this is supposed to be 0, right? Because we don't want to assign any other value. Now we will create one more constructor. And then in this case we will pass two values here. So now I say number 1 is equal to n1 and number 2 is equal to n2, right? So now we have initialized the values with the different, or the values that we passed from the main method, right? So once again we can do something like this. We create one more variable, and in this case now we will pass some values here, right? Let's say I pass 3 and 9, and then I call the get result. You can see here it gives you 12. So we have passed here 3 and 9, so the answer is 12. So now you can see here that the first part we did not create any constructor. We directly call the default constructor, which is automatically created by Java for you, right? Then we set the values by set n1 and n2, right? Then we get the result. Second part, we created a default constructor where we were not passing any values, but we initialized number 1 and number 2 with something here. In our case it was 7, and then we called the result, and you saw that the result was 14. Now the third part, what we have done, we have one more constructor. These are overloaded constructors. You can see here we have calculate and we have calculate. Here I can have one more calculate, as many as you can define different values for the parameters that are passed, right? So now here we said number 1 is equal to the value that we passed, and number 2 and 2 is assigned to number 2, right? The one that we passed from here, 3 and 9, and then we call get result method, which shows us the result, right? So this is how you can create constructors. Again, the constructor, the basic idea here is that there is no return type and the name should match with the class name. That is the two main things that you need to remember.